Are college football athletes on a path to dropping the educational aspect altogether? Once upon a time, the great philosopher of Columbus, Ohio fame, Cardell Jones, said, and I quote, "We ain't come here to play no school." At the time, he was chastised for it. And now we look at pictures of Bo Nix with Bojangles endorsements in front of us, and we ask, are these the same universes that we're talking about? Bryce Young got a number of endorsement deals. And so now this has led people to ask what is, at this point, a logical follow-up question. And that is, what is the end? Where are we headed? Like, where's all this going to end up? Because it's not just going to sit still. Like, we're on a slippery slope. I think whether you like it or you don't like it, we're on a slippery slope right now. No one really has good traction. The sport doesn't have good traction right now. So where are we headed? Well, there are a lot of different schools of thought out there. I'm going to give you one to just ponder on right now. This is not going to happen overnight. You are probably not going to like it. I'm not crazy about it, but a lot of powerful people are talking about this, and it hasn't really been talked about publicly a lot. There are some people that think we are headed towards a time in college football, not too far down the road, mind you, where we have a true splitting. It's a philosophical dividing of college football and universities. And if you want to call them leagues, call them leagues. But there will be essentially two worlds that exist. One of the worlds is one that maintains the academic attachment, the true student-athlete model, and the other acknowledges what it sees as an inevitability or a reality at that point and says, some of them really didn't come here to play no school, did they? So you know what? Let's stop pretending. And also that group over there who wants essentially a semi-pro model, they're also going to look around and they're going to say, right now, this is chaos. Toothpaste is out of the tube. This is chaos. We can't go backwards. So what we have now is we have a mess of epic proportions with NIL. We have a mess of epic proportions with the transfer portal. Guys could leave whenever they want to. It's complete havoc on a roster management system. So since the reverse button doesn't work on this thing, that group's going to say, well, let's go down the road. Let's get it to the end of the road. We're headed there anyway. Let's get there. Let's get to where those guys can have employment status attached to them. And however we have to do that, we do it. But not only that, then they can collectively bargain. They have at their disposal now probably TV revenue distribution. A lot of things open up. A lot of possibilities open up. But here's what it coincides with. It coincides with being honest about what we're doing here and being honest about the fact that this is about football more than academics. And we're not going to pretend like it's otherwise. Also, you got to keep in mind there's this pesky little thing standing in the way of a lot of this right now called Title IX. You want to know how you get away from that? You get away from it by not being attached to the university in an academic fashion at all. You're just a brand. You are licensing, essentially, the branding of that school at that point. So Florida State Seminole football, they may still play in Doak Walker Stadium. It may be on the campus down there in Tallahassee, but you may see a day where that running back isn't in class at all. He's not even enrolled at the university. But what he is he is employed, and what he is insured, and what he is he's getting a cut of that TV revenue. He's getting distribution through all sorts of different channels, still has his NIL, but what he has now is he has a contract in turn that he has signed. Coming out of high school, goes wherever he goes, and you're not just going to move around. And there's a lot more structure in NIL now. We can do it legislatively because we now are acknowledging that you are an employee. Well, here's the thing. There are going to be some programs that are willing to go down that road. There are going to be some conferences that are willing to go down that road. There are going to be others that aren't. So you could see a world 2025, 2030, 2035, I don't know when. I tell you, there are real people who have real power in this sport that think we're headed this way. You could see a world down the road where it's not so much there's the SEC, there's the Big 12, there's the Big 10. It could be there's the semi-pro version of college football and there's the classical version of college football over here. And there could be universities like Stanford that listen to that proposal and say, absolutely not. We are not even entertaining that. And there could be programs like South Carolina that says, you know what? Not only are we going to entertain it, we're going to be at the forefront of it. We're hopping in. Where do we sign? At that point, what does college football look like? Now, as you think about that and how messy this is, also remember, we have not, as a sport, decided on playoff structure in the future. Well, it stands to reason. Before you decide on playoff structure, don't you need to know what the structure of the sport's going to be? I mean, we're not signing a 2 or 3 year deal. This is going to be a long-term deal that we're talking about signing coming up. Now, when you want to know why everyone talks about what a headache this is, and you want to know why everyone talks about how many moving parts there are, these are the moving parts. It's the stuff they tell you about whether the Rose Bowl will move or not, and the stuff about how many conferences are going to have auto bids. Those are surface-based. What I'm talking about are foundational changes. These are like seismic changes that could be on the horizon as opposed to surface-based changes. So to answer the question, even though it brings me no joy, because I like the way the sport was when I was growing up, Grandpa, tell me about the good old days. Yeah, I do think there is probably coming an era in the not too distant future where there is at least a portion of college football that's detached from the classic student-athlete model.